Guys, I just had an incredible conversation with Earl Kopeledi, who is a screenplay writer and movie director. What a wild conversation. Imagine not knowing anything about the movie business or have any formal schooling or training with regards to shooting a movie or writing a screenplay. And imagine saying, I'm gonna teach myself how to do both things, how to write stories, how to write screenplays, and how to direct a movie. Imagine saying all of that to yourself and then following through with it. And then not only that, but your first freaking movie getting international awards, Ster-Kinekor Cinema House reaching out to you and saying, I want to play your movie. Wild. Imagine. Man, I'm not going to say anything further. Check it out for yourself.
What you doing out in these streets, Leroy? What you doing out in these streets? What you doing out? What you doing out? What you doing out in these streets? What you doing out in these streets, Leroy? We in these streets.
Look, I mean, especially when because I'm starting out, right? So you learn as you go along. You know, you kind of like learn certain lessons. It's you jumping into the deep end. So it's like it's interesting. It's an interesting journey, but it's that's how you learn.
Yeah. It's you learn as you go.
Exactly.
You learn as you go. You're not gonna learn by not doing anything.
100%.
Just reading a book. But thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you and you appreciate your time. We met back in just before the pandemic, right?
Yes.
On the set of my music video, Lose Control.
Yes.
Which is a wild shoot. I still think about those moments. Things I do for my country. And then again, the last time I saw you was on the set of your first film,
Yeah.
2/3 of a Man. That was also in the pandemic.
2020, yeah. We shot that in August. Yeah. As we came out of that, we were locked down for a minute, and then as we came out of that, we had a little window there that we did.
Yeah, where alcohol was still banned.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was
100%.
That was a wild time in everyone's life.
100%.
But before we chat about that, I want to go way back. I want to take it from the beginning. Like, what was your childhood like?
Yes.
Because I know you grew up in a small town, right?
Well, before we get into that, firstly, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a little chat with you, and also, and I will get into us working also together on 2/3 and your contribution with that. So I think we don't always give each other the props and the recognition. So firstly, thanks for the contribution, being generous. You allowed us to use one of your tracks, which is amazing. And so before we start, I just wanted to put that out there. So yes, so when I was a child, listen, I'm from Beaufort West originally, and the youngest of 7 children. My dad was a teacher. Mom, worked in kind of retail as I grew up. So, as the youngest child, and obviously now you've got 7 children. So, not a lot of attention on the youngest one. Obviously, he led to kind of do his own thing.
7 kids.
So, Beaufort is not a lot to do, man.
Wow, that's wild.
So this was a different era.
Wow.
Growing up, a lot of time for myself, imagination runs wild, loved sports, was very into sports, played cricket at primary school level, played hockey, all of these things. And I mean, this was a different era. So, this is pre-internet, all of these good things. So it's sports, it's music, it's reading, it's hanging out with your friends, that kind of stuff. And also an era where, from a small town, your movement isn't really restricted. You can
live
with
outside,
open doors, play outside. So yeah, I think a childhood where you had the opportunity just to kind of sort of run wild and kind of be free and all of that, but still very much small town. I remember coming my first time coming to Cape Town with an aunt and uncle of mine that I was also quite close to.
How old
And
were you back then when you came for the first time?
I used to stay at my aunt and uncle because they didn't have kids, so I was like
Oh
this sort
wow,
of
that's cool.
surrogate kid, and my aunt his mother and her family stayed in Woodstock, so we would come like even as young as 4 or 5 years old. Um, so I think Cape Town has always had a bit of a fascination for me, and it's a place that kind of like was always kind of near and dear, and that's kind of how I ended up here. So yeah, and then studied at Stellenbosch. That's actually where I met Lester. Studied commerce, did my degree there, and then eventually ended up in Cape Town. Started to work in the marketing space. Also studied at UWC. I did my honors there. Played hockey for UWC, etc. So that was kind of the evolution from sort of small town, and then landed up in Cape Town, where I'm still am, and working in Cape Town.
Were you in all of that? Did you ever? Okay, obviously as a child you were fascinated with movies, things on the screen, pictures, movement. Were you always into movies? Did you always have like, I need to see a movie, like one movie a day kind of thing, or?
Yeah, and even before movies, I would say stories fascinated me. I had like a huge appetite to read, right? I was reading like a book a day,
Oh, wow.
type of thing when I was at school, especially I would say between the period of, let's say, 9, 10 to, well into high school. I was just obsessed with stories. And the interesting thing is, you don't think at that stage it could be something you could do, right? It was just more it gets the imagination flowing. I'm very much in my head, kind of very dreamer type personality. So that was very, let's say, where the thing started, and then yeah, I mean TV. We lived in Beaufort. We had one channel when I was at school. I mean, literally, right? So you watch everything, like from the cartoons to all the stuff like the MacGyvers and all of that stuff that
I
we used to
remember
play back in.
MacGyver.
Yeah. So I think just always had a fascination, and then we used to have a drive-in. The old drive-in cinemas. I've fond memories. You don't always have the money of your family or whatever to go to these things, but now and then, either with an uncle or somebody, whoever's going,
It's a special occasion.
a special occasion, that. And then we also had a sort of an independent cinema where I remember watching movies like Flashdance, things like that. Like, now I'm giving my age away, but like way back like that, right? So that type of thing of seeing something on the big screen was always fascinating, right? Because it's almost like unreachable, right? It's like
Yes.
it's fantasy world. So yeah, but at no point, and also being from a small town, at no point do you think that's something you could do one day. You know what I'm saying?
Especially the way we were raised, right?
Exactly. That's not a real career, right? That's fantasy land. So you're gonna become like a teacher or an accountant maybe, or something like that, right?
A policeman or whatever.
Whatever, right? So
Sorry to interrupt. I when I was growing up, right, and I saw either people on TV or musicians or people who were famous typically. I honestly, this is me. I thought these people were groomed from a young age. They like special kids.
Yeah.
And only those, like, they were chosen.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I had no idea, like, people like just like me and you,
Yeah.
that just put a little work in, and they had this
Exactly.
belief in themselves, and they made something happen. I had no idea.
No, 100%, 100%, and I think as you get older and you start growing into a little bit of confidence, and I think what's more important is to start meeting people that's in that field, and seeing people that look like you doing things like that. You know, as a colored kid out of a community where I haven't seen at that stage myself or people that look like me maybe on a screen or doing things, you know. So for me that was a foreign concept. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, I haven't seen people that look like me do things like that. So therefore that's not an option.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And then once you then eventually start seeing people, and that's why I think it's so important to be able to tell stories where people can see themselves in and going, okay, wait a minute, but if that guy can do it, maybe there's an opportunity for me. So yeah.
And that's why you chose this story to make Two-Thirds of a Man, because I read a write-up where it said you never saw someone like you on a screen.
Yeah.
And yes, there were other movies that were made where colored people were depicted in a certain way, more of a stereotypical way, I would say, but never in the way
Yeah.
you depicted
Yeah.
in Two-Thirds of a Man, which is true. You know, you don't see that.
Yeah. So what I want to say, and maybe let me just rewind a little bit on that journey. So what had happened was I never, the idea of a movie was not even a thing, right? I'm happy doing my day job, etc. And at some point, I think it was around about 2017, 2018, we were lucky at our work to be able to get almost like development coaches that deal with, like, you have conversations and we talk about career, but also on a personal level. And out of that conversation, I realized that I was quite frustrated. So marketing is a creative space, but to a certain degree, right? And I felt that I wasn't 100% leaning into all my creativity. And so I was saying to the coach, listen, I need to do something a bit more creative because I'm not, you know, I'm not fulfilled in that space. And then we had a lot of conversation about it. She was talking about maybe you should go do a writing course and all of that. And I was like, I ain't doing no writing courses, man. I'm done studying. I'm not going back to study. That's not the point. So fast forward in 2019 or end of 2018, I go, okay, let me write something, right? And it wasn't going to be a book. I just thought I don't have the patience and the rigmarole. I mean, Lester can, you know, you had Lester on the podcast. Shout out to Lester. He's a real writer, right? And he's put all those hours into his craft. And I was like, no, but what I'll do is I've always been fascinating with movies and screenplays. So let me try my hand at that. And the aim wasn't to make a movie. The aim was, let me challenge myself and see if I can write a 90-page whatever screenplay. And it will probably end up in a drawer someday, and, you know, somebody will open it and go, oh, wow, this guy wrote something, you know, get it, yeah.
Throw the dust off, like,
take the dust off. Oh, wow, this guy actually wrote the screen. So that, honestly, that was where it was going to end, right? And then I wrote it in about 4 months. So basically how I got there was I just was locked, you know, this is why things like YouTube and all of those are so great. So I watched a lot of master classes. I went back into how do you tell a story, the hero's journey. Like I really went into a kind of a deep dive into
self-taught, basically.
Self-taught, you know, watched masterclass, subscribe to masterclass, the website where they've got all these authors and movie makers and all of those on. So just fully kind of like went into a deep dive on that, and coming out of that, I then put pen to paper, or, you know, not pen to paper, but on some free software, typed out the screenplay. And then 4 months in, I was done. I had a draft, and then
that's crazy.
I put it out to a few friends, Lester being one of them. Was like, read this, man, what do you think, whatever. And funnily enough, I got a lot of good feedback from it. And then I went to go work in the UK for 6 months. I was on a sort of a secondment there. And in that time, I was sending the screenplay out to like some production houses, you know, whatever. Of course, crickets, nobody was interested. And then
people just went ghost.
Yeah, just like, yo, not even a no thank you. And then while I was there, one day I woke up just with this thought. I was like, it's almost like a voice said, listen, if you're not going to make this movie, nobody's going to make it, right? And then back into the deep dive, how to make a movie.
Oh wow! Just going back.
Yeah.
Like, why did you feel so compelled to? Yes, this is a screenplay. You could have easily just put this out as a PDF, a story for people to read.
Yeah.
Why did this have to be told, and why did it have to be magnified on a screen?
Because I always wrote it with images in mind. Like I always thought it needed to be seen as opposed to read.
Read,
You know what I'm
okay,
saying?
okay.
And so it would have felt to me that we kind of did the thing halfway,
Halfway,
and then also part of that, if I'm not going to do it, nobody else is going to do it. I felt compelled that often our stories, and when I say our stories from a colored perspective, are not told by us. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I think even though I don't maybe have the technical capabilities, I think I've got a point of view that might be valid. You know what I'm saying? So dive into master classes, the likes of the Spike Lees and all of these guys, how to make a movie. And while I was in the UK, I attended like a 2-day course on low budget filmmaking, right? This Rain Dance is like a film festival, and the owner and CEO, they run these like workshops. And I was like, how, because I didn't know where to start, right? And they take you through the budgeting and, all of these things. And I came out of that process thinking, okay, I feel like there's a way. I don't know 100%, but I feel like there's a way. And in that time, I came back to South Africa. It was roughly September, and I worked with Dale, Dale Fortune, that
Shout
shot
out
your
to Dale.
music. Shout out to Dale. That shot your music video, and he did a music video for the company that I worked for, and so that's how we met. And I just kind of liked his style and his ease of working and all of that. And then I sent him the script. I said, "Listen, dude, like I know this is a long shot, but I'm trying to make this indie film. Would you consider DOPing for me on this?" And then he came back and said, "Yes, sure. Let's do that." So that then the pieces of the puzzle, I started like trying to find the people, the characters. At that point, I brought in Lester. He read the script, gave me quite a lot of good notes on the script, all of those kind of things. And then just like step by step, we started, working towards creating this thing, man.
Wow. Okay. What I love about this story is that you actually, it's like a lot of people would have just given up because I don't know how. So I'm gonna say, yeah, leave it in the drawer.
Yeah.
But you said, you know what? I'm gonna learn. First of all, I had to write a screenplay.
Yeah.
And then when you got crickets, you're like, I'm not gonna leave it there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say how to make my own movie.
Yeah.
And you took the time to learn and network, and
Yeah.
that for me is very admirable because a lot of people would have given up.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like, that's amazing. That really is amazing. Because I honestly thought you had a background in film,
No.
you went to school,
Yeah.
like this is what you did. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
I had no idea, like, this homie, he just...
He's making it up as he's going along.
This homie wasn't an AD first.
Yeah.
He didn't, like, get coffee for directors
Yeah.
first. He wasn't a runner, he just...
Yeah.
I'm making a movie.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's very wild when you think about it in that way.
It is
right?
wild.
When you reflect on it, you're going, okay, that's a bit crazy, but okay, like looking back at it and going, there was no other way to do it. But yeah, I'll take that, man. And the process has learned me, I've learned a lot through the process on like what is possible or what is not possible. Like we tell ourselves, this isn't possible. And yeah, man, the like just to get back to the story, right? So you mentioned it earlier. I felt like I haven't seen the story on screen before, right? I have watched a few movies, shot in our communities and all of that, and certainly shout out to some amazing ones like things like Nume
Oh, that was a great
Skoli,
one.
Four Corners. Amazing films, right? Take nothing away from that. But I just started feeling that we always just zone in on this idea of crime,
Yeah.
of,
Then
you
more
know,
negative aspects.
colored boys ending up in jail or, you know, being involved with drugs and all of that. I quoted some stats because I was like, let me look at some stats. And I'll give you the stats just to contextualize what I'm saying. So I read that there's about 100,000 gang members in South Africa. Let's call them official gang members,
Okay.
right? And I,
It's like it's a register.
yeah,
Like
they
an official
registered
register.
gang members, 100,000 gang members in
Like,
South
you
Africa.
put the name on a board. Like,
According to Stats SA. I don't know if it's Stats, but in any case.
we have 5 new. We have 5 new.
Yeah,
right
listen,
there.
just sign there, you now official. And then, and we've got about 5 million, let's say colored people in the country, right? So you would know that if every gang member happened to be colored, that's 2% of the population.
That's
right?
wild.
2% of the colored community, if every gang member is colored. And I go, but if you look at the stories we tell, like almost every story has got a gang narrative.
Yeah.
Why
It's
is
all
that?
in the same box.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was just like, nah, man, like we've got more stories to tell, right? And certainly, as I said, I would have loved when I was growing up that I could see a movie where you see a kid going through his challenges, you know, his insecurities, all of those kind of things, and how to navigate that, right? And stories are powerful because they can be quite inspiring, and they really can. So that was the key thing for me, and just really followed the narrative where it kind of took me, right? And yeah, that's kind of how the screenplay came together.
Okay, I just want to understand something. What gave you this belief inside you that I can make a movie? You know what I mean? Like, it's a different thing to say, I'm going to,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to learn, but then to actually do it.
Yeah.
What inside you, like, told you that, you know what, I got this. This is in the bag. I already visualized it, like, it's done. Like, what?
It's a very...
Because this is your first movie.
Yes,
ever,
that's a very
right?
good question. I must be honest. I've
Thank
never
you.
really sat quietly and thought exactly about that question, because I think that you need a level of being a bit naive, not knowing how the scale of this thing really is. I think you need to be maybe a little bit crazy. Maybe I am a little bit. It's all of these ingredients, right?
Yes,
Just
yes.
enough of everything. And then it was a case of, what's the worst that can happen, man? This thing ends up being a horrible thing. I've got amazing stories
Straight
to
to video,
tell.
like we always say.
Yeah, amazing stories to tell about how terrible. Remember that year we thought we could make a movie, right? So, like at the very worst, it's going to be one of those horror
Braai
stories.
you know?
Exactly, yeah. You know, we're bragging there, and I'm going, remember when we tried to make that movie, man? So,
That was so crazy.
so to
Imagine.
be honest, it was a little bit of all of those kind of things, right? And I was just fascinated about movies and how do you put these things together? And I've been lucky in my marketing career to have been a little bit on things like on an ad where they shoot an ad, right?
okay.
Being on set and watching people. Not that I learned anything, but I loved the feeling of being on set and the director goes, you know, and action and people go and I'm like, wow, this is dope, right?
Yeah.
So even if it was just to get those experiences off, I felt like this could be amazing, man, right? Let's just do that. And then, to be honest, it's not just about me. It's like I built this community, and I was very lucky with the collaborators, you know, the Lesters of the world. Dale came in. We'll talk a little bit about the music as well, because I know you're a music man. You know, Orion Winter did the score. But the reality is 95% of the cast and crew that was involved with making 2/3 of the Man was never on a movie set ever in their life, right? So it's not just me, like it's
Wow.
all these group of people. Like there's maybe a little person there that did a little walk-on role there, but certainly from a production point of view, DOP, lighting, music, none of us have ever been involved in a movie. So I'm very proud of that because I think, we created this little nice community of people that then went and did this thing.
When you decided, you know what, I'm gonna make a movie, like who did you tell, if you told anyone, and was there any like a backlash, not backlash, but like resistance to say, wait, what are you doing? What do you say you're gonna do?
Very few people knew other than the people involved in the movie because the thing is, there's a lot of naysayers, right? And people go, no, you're crazy, man. You know how difficult it is to make a movie. And I didn't want to surround myself, because I felt like people will be able to talk me out of this crazy idea, right? So what I was doing is as I'm getting people involved and they're saying yes, I'm keeping it tight. Not even my family really knew what I was doing, right? I was just like... the opening sequence, for instance, of the movie was shot in Beaufort. So we went down to Beaufort to shoot that. And they're like, what is this boy doing? Like, and I was just like, we're doing a little short thing here. I didn't tell them like we're shooting a whole movie.
Much on it.
Just because I felt like and also if it's, as I said, if it's a complete shit show, right? Like, I can go, we were just playing around.
Yeah, we were just experimenting.
Yeah. So it was really not a case of needing any people to endorse it or like we just ran with it, man.
How did you assemble the cast?
So that was also a very interesting one. It's the one thing I want to say about doing any project is just start with it. You're never going to know the full picture up front, because I've also had to learn that I'm the type of person that when I wanted to do something, I wanted to understand, like, okay, if that thing, then I must go there, and then to get that, I wanted the whole picture. And I realized that's not the most efficient way to do things. Start with a great idea, start with something that energizes you and passion, and put one foot in front of the other. And trust that the universe will help you along the way. You know what I'm saying? So when it started with the cast, I knew that I needed a specific lead character. I wanted somebody that could sing, right? Because, spoiler alert, there are some singing in the movie, and I needed my main character. I didn't want where, somebody's going to lip sing. Like, I wanted this thing to be very authentic, you know what I'm saying? So the first thing was to try and get my lead character, and I asked around through friends, and eventually I landed on Mario via a friend. I was listening because I wasn't really a fan with his work. I knew that he did some music, a couple of years back. He did some R&B stuff and whatever, and then I listened to one of his tracks. I think he did a cover of a Michael song, Gone Too Soon. Okay. I listened to it on Spotify. I was like, okay, the boy can sing, right? Okay. Like this. And then as I reached out to him, I was like, can you speak Afrikaans? I was like, no, I'm not an Afrikaans guy. So the boy that, the lead character, he is from Cape Town, but him and his mother moves down to Beaufort and they live there. So I needed him to be able to speak in Afrikaans. So we had a lot of fun with that, man. It's like Mario learning his lines in Afrikaans and having to do that. So once we had Mario, then, we went from there.
Okay. So you basically built everything around Mario.
Yes, and then we got lucky because then it was like I needed somebody that was going to play his uncle, which was a pivotal character. And dude, I did so much stalking. I'm very embarrassed to say this, but I was like on Google, like colored actors, blah 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 blah. And I was just getting into people's profiles on Instagram and like maybe this. So I was doing like almost like a casting online. Maybe this guy.
Wow.
Oh, that guy's too high profile. We can't pay him. We won't be able to afford him. So we went through that whole journey, and then we got lucky with Van, who's now gone on and did a lot of cool stuff afterwards. And it happened to be that Mario actually knew Van because they were in the same running club. And then he's like, nah, I think this can. So when I got Van was attached to a talent agency, and he introduced me to the owner of the talent agency, and I just got a lot of the other actors through. So it was just like kind of organically how that fell together.
I just want to say, like you gave me props earlier, I want to give you props. I want to do this like now. I didn't do it in the beginning, but I want to do this now because it's more organic. Like, shout out to you for giving me my first movie role, and for using one of my tracks in your movie as well. And not only that I got a cameo in your movie, but to have my song playing in my cameo. It's insane, bro. It's like, wait, what? What?
Yeah. So that was interesting. I remember coming to, because Dale was down and you were shooting your music video, and he invited me to come pop in because it was a chili bar, which was one of the places we used in the movie as well. And I was listening to the song. I was like, "Yo, this is a cool track, man. Speak to Leroux. Can we get the track? Like, what's the deal?"
Why did you ask me there? Like,
no, but I mean, I just met you, and obviously Dale knew you for a bit, and Dale is working on the movie. So I was like, "Yo, just speak to the man, whatever, you know." And then, because the other thing for me, music is a big thing for me, right? Like, there's always, when I write or whatever, there's always kind of music. Like, I've always got reference tracks and all of that. And I just knew, like, that song can play in the club. I already knew which scene I was going to use. And then that scene of yours, I kind of just wrote in, man. Because I was just like, it would be cool if we get the guy and he just comes and he rocks up in the movie. And like, so that wasn't in the script at all. I was just like, let's just write that in.
It's improv.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a cool moment.
Wild,
and yeah, the as I say, the music was such a big deal. Orion Winter, who did the score for the movie, also amazing backstory there. Van also introduced me to him. You know, I remember listening to Orion's "Love's in Need of Love Today," the Stevie Wonder track that he did years ago. And this guy came in and we had a chat, and after a while, good vibes and all of that, and he just played me a song like that he did like years ago, never released. We were sitting in his car and he played this song, and I got chills, man. I was like, once again, didn't have a scene for that. Literally wrote a scene around that song. And it's like the flashback scene in the movie where that song plays, and also then added him as a cameo in that scene. So yeah, man, a big thing for me was also about giving artists the opportunity to shine. We shot like 5 music videos out from that soundtrack. You know, the likes of Orion, King Smasher, Patty Monroe, all of these people, you know, were nice to kind of lend their music and their time to the project. So it was just really to put a lens on the creativity and the talent that comes out of our communities. You know, as I said, that's an important thing for me, is to shine the light on these talents that don't always get the opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I appreciate that. We all do appreciate that. I respect. I just want to say, for the record, the role in the cameo that I did wasn't my idea, okay?
please put that out on your socials. I literally provided this man with that. Like, I want people to go like, yeah, I am in my moment.
You don't understand. Like, I'm already getting grief from women. They say that is my life.
Oh, really?
That is my life. That's how they see me.
Okay.
So I was like, now they got proof. I was like, you see. I knew it, girl. I knew it. I knew it was, you know, like, yo. I was like, yo, okay, fine.
No,
I'll take it on the chin.
it's a movie, people. Like, yeah, no, that's you were playing a character. You're playing
it's a
a
character.
heightened character.
It's a
right,
character,
right now.
that's all.
No, 100%.
But it was funny. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, listen. So yeah. So definitely the 2/3 of a Man. That was an amazing journey. We ended up doing very well on film festivals. We got into Durban Film Festival. It actually won a few awards internationally. And then the funny thing is, I did an interview on was it on Cape Talk? I think no, not Cape Talk. What was it? Could be Cape Talk. Sorry if I messed this up. But in any case, after that, somebody from Ster-Kinekor had the conversation and then reached out, and then
That's
we
wild.
ended up releasing it on like 12 or so screens.
Just before we get
Yeah.
there, I just wanted to ask you. Okay, I'll remember that
Yeah.
because that's something I want to talk about
Yeah.
as well. 'Cause
Yeah.
after I read the write-up,
Yeah.
I will come back.
Yeah.
I just want to go back.
Yeah.
Like, you guys started shooting the film before the pandemic started,
Yes.
right? Before the lockdowns,
Yeah.
right? So you had this flow.
Yes.
Then the President Cyril, Uncle, called a family meeting.
Uncle C called a family
He called a
meeting.
family meeting saying,
Yeah.
we're shutting the country down. What was your reaction like? Because you know you couldn't continue the shoot. Did you have any fears that, oh fuck, there goes my dream?
Yeah.
All this effort, we had the whole crew, we had this flow going, everyone's all in sync. The plan was to end on this day.
Yeah.
Now everything's getting shut down. Are we gonna get back up? Are there gonna be stipulations now? Is the crew still being available
Yeah.
after that? Like,
Yeah.
what's going through your mind at that time?
So it's a very funny scenario that played out there. So we went to Beaufort in the beginning of the year. We're there for 3 days. We shoot the opening of the movie, right? So that's in the bag. Then now, as you know, the way you shoot the screenplay, it's not in sequence. It's all over the show. So now me and Lester doing all the production work. So we have to do all the organization, meaning, you know, all the location scouting, get the locations, get all the talent, all of these things, right? Organize the food, all of that. So we get this house that will become Uncle Mike's house, which is the character of Justin Omaria's character's uncle, where he comes to stay in Cape Town, right? So we get this house, and we're there for 2 days to shoot. So we shoot day one at the house, and that evening is the family meeting of Uncle C, right? And literally, okay, as of that, I think that was the Monday or so, as of the Thursday, everything is now going to shut down. So now we're going, whoa, what we doing now, right? And the reality is we have to shut down. So I literally, all of those thoughts go through my mind. I'm going, how do we pick up from this, blah, 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 blah. But the right thing to do is we have to shut down, right? Dale has to go back to Joburg, all of these kind of things. Right now, people are trying to get flights and all of that. So we shut down.
Yeah, because Della lives in Joburg, right?
Yes. So we shut down and we're going, what happens, right? There's nothing we can do, move on. And then we come back in August, so that we think it's shut down for 2 weeks. Remember, it was going to be a couple of weeks, and then, you know,
and then back to normal.
And then no, we're
extending.
done. And then August, we want to go back. The house that we rented was available. They were looking for somebody. Now there's tenants in there. We can't go back. So that footage that we shot the whole day, it's dead because we now have to find a new location.
You need continuity. You can't just.
We have to reshoot all of that, and you know, so that these kind of things happen as we go along. In August we pick up. So I mean, that's the production of the movie is a whole nother podcast, man. Like all the things that. You know, finding locations. We were wanting to shoot at a certain university. We couldn't get in, so we created this.
Rocklands University.
We created Rocklands University.
Where did you shoot that though? I was trying to figure out.
So we used 3 locations for that. The one location where we actually shot in the, let's say, in the classrooms or whatever was done at.
Shout out to.
Oh yeah.
All for bringing me a gift.
There we go. The merch.
Rocklands University from 2/3 of a Man. Yes, man.
There we go.
I'm gonna leave that right there.
Cool. We shot that at UCT Business School at the waterfront.
Okay.
We also shot at a Paul school. I forget now the exact name of the school. No. It's a school there in the neighborhood. And so when you see the beginning, like where he first goes to the university, you see him walking up to this big building. It's this old kind of like.
I remember that scene.
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture that. It was very Dutch.
That Dutch stuff, like, so
Yeah.
that's at a school. So we just used the front facade and, actually superimposed Rocklands University on there. And then the third location was the canteen, which we actually shot at a theater in Long Street. I think it's 44 and Long. That's where we shot that. So we used different locations.
The canteen of the school?
The canteen. So there's some shots where the students sit in the canteen and whatever, and that was shot at the theater, which we also used in the movie where they do the singing and all of that.
I remember that scene.
So yeah, I mean it's called movie magic for a reason, right? You just make up these things and then kind of construct it together. Yeah.
Wild, man. Okay, so the movie's done. Okay, everyone's done. Now you have to edit, and Dale did the editing, right?
Dale did the editing.
What was that process like, the back and forth? Because he lives in Joburg, and you live in Cape Town.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Look, I was not ready for that, for the editing thing. Because what we had to do is, remember now, we're back into lockdowns and all of these things. I have to remotely work with Dale. So what we do is we'll go online on Teams. He'll bring up the editing suite. We'll talk. I would watch footage. I will give him notes, send it. He'll chop things together. Then we'll look at it and watch. So that editing process took us a year, man. We literally, for the whole of, let's say, 2021, we finished the movie in 2020, August, we shot it. And then basically the whole of 2021, we did the edit, like remotely mostly. Like, maybe when he's down in Cape Town, we'll steal a weekend. And now also I've got a job, so I have to do this after hours or on the weekend. So it took us a year to edit that movie. So
wow. It must have been, trying to convey a message to get a scene the way you wanted.
Yeah.
Must have been frustrating, back and forth.
Yes, because also, remember, I don't have the technical skills, right? And as I said, I'm learning as I'm going along. So in editing, and we made a lot of mistakes as a crew that haven't done this before. So for instance, things like recording sound. Then once you do the playback of the sound, you thought you had it, and then you go, ooh. Because we also shot with lapels and somebody scratching noises, and there's no budget to go back and do the audio or anything like that.
ADR
so we got super creative, man. There's places in the movie where I laugh where we would do something like, there's the scene where Lester and Bronte is in the car and they're having a conversation, and the mic was so stretchy we couldn't use it. So what we did was we superimposed like cars driving past them. So in those moments you would hear a car coming past, and we're doing these things to cover the stuff in the production. So we did a lot of those kind of things, and just in the editing, that first edit, I was like, it is as horrible as what I thought it would be.
But there's one thing about Dale, right? He will, like, of all the years I've been working with him, like, he shot a lot of my music videos.
Yeah.
So he will allow you to sit in with him.
Yeah.
And edit, and he also give you like space to be creative and say, I like this better here, and then he's like, okay, I agree with that. Okay, what do you mean by this or this and this? So he will give you that scope and not just say, I shot it, we do it my way, and so.
Yeah, no, definitely a shout out to Dale, and I think I really got lucky with working with him because he's not an ego guy, right? He's a guy he's a collaborator.
That's what I'm looking for.
And also, he's got so much more experience than me. He's directed a lot of music videos. So for him not to go, listen, man, I've done this, like he really trusted.
I think I know better.
Yeah, he really trusted my vision and how I wanted to kind of project the things and get there. And of course, I allowed him a lot of input because I could lean on his technical skills. You know what I'm saying? So I really think we got there, and it was a hell of a learning process for all of us. Yeah.
There was a time like I was trying my hand at editing because I was in the pandemic and I wanted to pick up a new skill, and I was like, let me see if I can learn, and I would send him some of the things that I edit, and he's like, dude, like, you don't need me anymore. Like, if you want, I can just shoot your stuff and you can put it together yourself. And like, well, all that back and forth, it kind of gave me the confidence to sit and say, you know what, I could possibly do this. You know, I could, because if I just take more time and edit more, and obviously the more I edit, the better I'm gonna get at it. You know,
100%.
I can do it. So he was also patient with me with regards to that process. But so the movie was done, edited. You finally had this product. Yes, you mentioned you went to festivals, right? International festivals. But was that your goal in the beginning, like after the movie was done, to go to international festivals? Or did you have a different route?
No, so the end game was to how do we get people to see the movie, right? It was the festivals was more hopefully so maybe a distributor could see it and whatever, and maybe then get us onto a platform or on screen or whatever. And so the first Fame Week Africa that happened, I think was it in 2021, late 2021, I think. So I don't know how we contacted them, but they ended up screening our movie at the Labia, right? Because it was their first year, and so that was a nice, let's say, first win for us. Then we went kind of like send it through to festivals. It did really, really well. And then as I explained, somebody from Ster-Kinekor had an interview I did, wanted to see a screen of the movie, send it to them, and they were like, cool, let's go, you know, and then put it on the screens. And that for me was really call it the validation, right? Because I remember the day I was walking in the V&A and I was just like, let me go check out Ster-Kinekor, and my poster was there on like coming soon next to a movie. I think it was Jordan Peele's Nope was just coming out. So I was just like, you know, that's when you have that little boy moment where you go, this is wild, man, right? Like, never in your wildest dreams did you think that something like that could happen. So for me, that was a massive moment. And then, you know, but the challenge of the industry is we still couldn't find a distributor, which you would think is wild, because played at Durban Film Festival, the movie has been on Ster-Kinekor. 2/3 of a Man has never played on a South African screen yet, right? Because we just couldn't get it anywhere, like whether it's Showmax or wherever. It's just like...
Oh, you're referring to like streaming services.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the sad part for me, is like I feel like it's a story that would really resonate with you know, especially young kids from our community, and just encourage them to kind of like see the world in a different way.
Wait, so after it landed and it played on Ster-Kinekor, right? So you approached like Showmax and Netflix?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I could, because I don't have a distributor, right? So normally the way it works, a distributor picks up your movie, they do the legwork and do those conversations.
Okay.
So you as a non-industry person trying to knock on doors, that's tricky, right? You don't get any
there must
replies.
Be this middleman
Exactly, you don't get replies, etc. So where I eventually got a distributor in the US, and they got it onto sort of Amazon, the higher, you know, when you can rent movies on Amazon, but that's only in the States, right? So it's never played on a South African screen yet, which is, you know, kind of wild.
So, okay, I've seen some movies on Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention names.
Yeah.
Like, it's entertaining, but it wasn't shot well.
Yeah.
Like, your movie was shot better than that. But that is playing, but not you.
Well, maybe one of your listeners will go, oh, I know somebody. But yeah, it's wild, and that's I guess the frustrating.
Still this gatekeeper.
There's always gatekeepers, right? So that's the frustrating thing, is just like, this is, I definitely feel, and it's not just because it's my movie, but it's the type of story that I wish I had access to growing up. You know what I'm saying?
So you approach these distributors, these gatekeepers, so to say, and they did not reply at all.
So we've sent it to about 2 or 3 local. There's not a lot of this local distributors. Didn't really get anywhere. And funnily enough, the one distributor said no. I think there's some challenges with the movie, or maybe some work that needs to be done. So I go, okay, cool, I get that. Very happy to approach it from an editing point of view. Please send me some notes, because I'm also learning. I'm not now, I know everything about movies. And just never got any replies back, and I'm going like...
I think that's just the standard thing that they send to people.
Exactly. I'm going like, if you really want to grow this industry, especially when it comes to independent filmmakers, at the very least, like, give people notes. Like, that takes nothing. And I'm going, maybe the movie was too long, or whatever the reasoning is. You know what I'm saying?
It's the same with the music industry. Like, if you send a song to radio, you don't get anything back. If you do hear something, I've heard like few of my music friends have told me like, they say this about the mixing, or it's this, or it's that. Then you make those changes, and it's still rejected. Or they say, no, there's rapping you can't have the rapping verse. They remove the rapping verse because this station only plays this format, and then it's still rejected. So that's what I always tell my friends, like, when they submit, when that's your product, that's the art, that's it. You don't do that. You don't, like, I'm not being arrogant, but you don't tell Picasso, that brushstroke over there wasn't perfect. Please change that. You don't. That's your art. Like, I hate that, because it's just something that they use because they think that you won't change it. And then when you do it, it's still not good enough. So. So frustrating, man. And it's so weird that Amazon in America picked up this movie and had no problem with it. But we over here, it's wild, man.
It's wild. But you continue, because now the bug is bitten, and you continue. Like Lester, Lester's got this cool quote. He said, if somebody asked him, so, like, till when are you going to continue to do this writing or making movies? And he goes, till they pay me to stop.
I love that. I love that so much. Oh my gosh, till they pay me to stop.
Yeah, so I love that quote. So,
I love that.
So, I mean, we just, well, not just, but last year we shot one of his short films, right? And I know we briefly chatted about that. When he was chatting to you.
Just before we get there, I just want to say, like, there's a lot of people I know in the movie business that approach Ster-Kinekor, New Metro, but there's always this hurdle. But the fact that they reach out to you, that's big. And that should be acknowledged. So well done on that.
Well, thanks, man.
That's well. And also, you didn't quite mention the awards. I think one of the first awards the film won was in LA, right? At the festival over there. So well done on that as well. It's just locally, we don't recognize our own people as much as we should. Which is wild. But sorry, but okay.
No, good, and I appreciate that. And it's often that it feels weird when people give you accolades, because especially when out of our communities, like the not wanting to come across as braggadocious, or you know what I'm saying. But I've started to look at things different, in the sense of, one of the big reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing is also that other kids can look at it and go, I can do that too. You know what I'm saying? Or there's a way I can go do. I don't need to wait for permission. That's the big thing. There's a scene in 2/3 where the character of Justin asks Uncle Mike, like, why don't we believe in ourselves, right? As colored men, right? And colored kids. And he gives him this kind of analogy where he says, we have this thing where we're waiting to be accepted at the table, right? To wait for the seat at the table. And he goes, we must stop waiting for the seat. We should be building our own living rooms, right? Instead of waiting for the seat at the table. And so for me, it's about taking the ownership. It's not going to be easy. I know there's a lot of obstacles, but it's not impossible. And once you see that it can be done, it can't be unseen. You know what I'm saying? Then you go, okay, well, what's the next thing? And then
That's
from there
so
you can
true.
then you can go on with it.
So
So
true.
yeah,
That you just need that seed of inspiration,
Yeah.
and then you run with it.
Yeah.
You go on. That's amazing. Okay, so you did latest short film you did, right? It was one of Lester's
Yeah,
short
yeah.
stories, right? It came out of his first book, his first publication. It's called.
a home is not a house.
Yes, I got the wrong.
You
I
you
think the
you,
house
you
is not
got
a home.
you got the Luther Vandross lyric.
Ain't nothing wrong with Luther, yo.
It was a play on that. We used to laugh about that thing because he's like, yeah, because I changed the name. I was just like, because it's called Homeful in the book, and I was
Yes.
like, we need something a bit more punchy and da-da-da-da-da.
A bit more
So
catchy.
yeah, so I kind of created that, and when I googled. A house is not a home, because that was where my head. I'm not. No, man, this is a Luther song. So we flipped it.
Shout out to Luther.
Shout out to Luther.
Wow. But now, what about this story stood out to you specifically?
So Lester's an amazing writer, right? I sometimes forget, and I mean I should give him more props, but it's so weird because we've been friends for 32 years and we don't know each other as artists, right? He studied science, I studied business, and we went kind of our ways in the various careers that we had, and so in this later stage of our lives, we come and we're collaborating on something completely different to how we started out, right?
Wow.
So initially it's, I see Lester as my friend, not Lester the writer, right? So I have to kind of like go, but this boy is a talented writer, right? So there's his props. So when you read his stuff, he's an amazing writer. And then I said to him, I think we were still busy with the post-production on 2/3. I was like, dude, we need to, this story, I can visualize it. And also, as a indie filmmaker, you're thinking about the cost of making it. It's 2 locations, 3 characters. Cost-wise, we can do it. It's not that complicated. But what really spoke to me was the story, right, of these 3 homeless people and kind of their backstory, and really humanize their situation and their friendship and stuff like that. So I just really loved it. And yeah, last year we shot it. A couple of weeks ago, we got invited to show it at the Franshoek Literary Festival. It's a book festival, but they invited us to play the movie there, and it was super well received.
Wow.
Man. So, yeah, so we just continue to do this thing, man. Till, as Lester says, till they stop,
Until they stop.
till they pay us to stop doing it.
I love that quote so much, man. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm gonna remember that. I'm gonna quote it a lot.
So yeah,
Okay, I was fortunate enough. You sent me a link so
Yeah.
I could preview the film,
Yeah.
which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
What I really liked about it, like you mentioned, humanizing
Yeah.
the homeless people to show that they are actually people.
Yeah.
There is a backstory.
Yeah.
There is a reason why they are there.
Yeah.
It to not just. There's a lot of people that overlook them.
Yeah.
So that's what I really liked. And after I watched that movie, when was it? I watched the movie Thursday, and I think today or yesterday, I saw a homeless person, and I was like, wow, what happened to you, bro? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your story? It just got me
Yeah.
thinking about
Yeah.
that, man. So that's what I really enjoyed about it as well. I like the lead character. Is it the lead, the guy, the afro?
Yeah, which one now? It's Lapis and what's
Charlie?
Charlie, yeah.
And the other guy, Lapis. I think
Lapis,
his name Lapis,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
He was good. He's
Yeah,
really convincing.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, yo, this
Yeah.
guy's really good.
No, listen. We once again we reached out to some people. Lester knew somebody that is in theater. He got us the actors that play the various role. Leande, who's plays Mina, and Kurtley, and all these guys. And so it was really. Yeah, once again, man, when people come together and they're there to make things, they bring good energy, good vibes, a positive attitude. You can really make some cool stuff. Once again, cool music. Orion Winter did some music. King Smasher. gave us a song, Sonder Yo. We in fact also shot a music video for that. Yeah, it's just always cool for me to get these guys to come in and add their touches to it and just elevate, because Lester kind of converted his short story into a script, right? So he did that, and then he entrusted me to put the images over it. So yeah, I think it came out nicely. And once again, I think we got some really, really good feedback for the 2 screenings that we showed thus far. So.
Wait, was the other screening done?
So we did a screening for like friends and family at the Labia, the beginning of the year, and then we had this film at Franshoek, and you were talking about just the human thing of it. There was this guy. So we did me and Lester did a Q&A afterwards, and he spoke afterwards. He had a question, and then he said, you know what was interesting for him was, you know, in the movie, they start off in their tattered clothes and all of that, and then there's the moment where they play around in the house and they start putting on suits.
Yeah.
And he said it was interesting for him that when they started putting on the suits, it was the first time that he saw them as people.
Whoa.
Like it was brave to say that,
say it
right?
out loud, yeah.
And I go, okay, firstly, props for being so honest about it. But that shows you, right? It's just like this.
How many other people think that way as well?
Exactly, and how sometimes we kind of live past one another. We don't have the conversations like you like. I like what you said when I asked you, you know, why are you doing this podcast? Is that thing, right? Everything these days is a soundbite, and so there's not these sit-down, meaningful conversations where we can go a little bit deeper. I can really understand where you're coming from and then have empathy for you, even though we may not agree on everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think we just live in a hyper sort of conflicting world where it's always just 2 sides, right? There's no nuance. It's just like you either on my team or you on this team, right?
And if we don't agree on this one thing, we can't be friends.
Exactly. And I'm going, nah, man, it's more nuanced than that, right? We can still walk out here and not agree on everything, but I can still see you as a human being, as an equal, and you know what I'm saying? It's about that respect. So for me, part of what makes this story really, really cool is you almost lift the hood up on who are these people. You know, the fact that, for instance, Lapis plays a keyboard and Mina can sing. You know what I'm saying? It tells you, you can fill in the blanks. You can go, maybe she sang in a choir. Maybe she was an artist at some point. You know what I'm saying? So you start saying we all have dreams. We all have a story. And then life happens. And, you know, sometimes things fall flat for you. But it's important that we still see people for being human first, and then we can get into all the crap of I don't agree with you and this, that, and the other. So
what I also like that was depicted, it's like there's also this with even in the homeless community. Yes, they were friends, right?
Yeah.
But there's a sort of class, like you are light skinned. So you are more you're more privileged.
Yes.
And like Charlie was well, he says I must call him Charles. So. He came from he had everything according to Lapis, right? Everything, you know, farm and wife and I think did he have kids as well?
Yeah. So he said you leave
and
all
you
of
just
that
leave all of that
behind,
to come and almost like play homeless. When you could go back and have all of that. So he doesn't understand struggle like the others do in that situation, which is wild. It's like they're all together, they're all living this life, but you still get that sort of class.
And that's life in general, right? I mean, Lester spoke about this at the Q&A the other day about this colorism idea, right? That, you know, in the colored community, there's still that class system, right? Like, you know, this one's got straight hair and light eyes, and I think that's our heritage coming from apartheid era, where, you know, if you looked a certain way, you were allowed more, you got certain privileges, and that kind of layer, I think, stucks with you, right? it's still there till this day where you see it in families, even within families, right? You see those kind of things play out. So I think, yeah, man, it's just the power of story is you can kind of like explore those themes. And hopefully you walk out of watching something like this. Look, I'm the guy, entertainment. Bad Boys come out, I'm there in the city, right? I'm all there for I'm all for that entertainment. But I think you can entertain, but also leave, and not to hit people over the head with message, because you also don't want a sermon, right? But you can leave a little bit of flavor there for people to go, okay, like, that was interesting. What was going on there? Or I wonder what she was thinking when that happened. You know? So I think that's art at its best when it can create conversations.
Yes.
So I think I really like that about the opportunity to tell stories.
And like, everyone has a backstory. Like Mina, it was Mina, right? She could see something happened with a child.
Yeah.
Probably a baby, because when she saw the cut, and then she first ran out, and the next morning she came and she covered it, and then she could be in this room. So everyone has like maybe a traumatic story of what something happened. That's why they ended up on the streets, and it's just we need to be more empathetic.
Yes.
When you see somebody that's homeless, it's not just are they lazy?
Yeah.
You know, there's a story that's untold that maybe they don't even want to speak about it because they haven't healed yet. You know, so they just like she couldn't even say anything.
Exactly.
It's like Lapi's knew. She confided in him. You could see, but it was still she couldn't really just say it out loud.
Yes.
Maybe they had a private conversation somewhere and it came up. But she still couldn't just say, you know why? You know what happened to my child, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, so.
No, 100%. And that's a human thing, right? Is we often suffer in silence. And I think what, hopefully, the takeaway also from the movie is we're all very similar.
Very similar.
Right? Doesn't matter who you are, what race you are, whatever. When it comes to the basics, you know, it goes back to family and friends and dreams and like all the stuff is the same, right? And I think once people understand, really have conversation and going, you know what, we're more alike than we are different. I think there's a narrative that shifts and this is what story does. It brings people together to have conversation and hopefully out of it realize that, man, we're not that different, right? So yeah, I mean, I'm glad you picked up on those themes because you know, Lester did an amazing job in writing the story, and there's a lot more detail in the book. And our challenge was, as you know, shooting the movie is how do you condense all of that, not to preach to the audience, not to give too much away, but let them be with you on the journey as they also uncover the layers and kind of like, you know, see the thing.
The first thing I picked up, I think it was, I won't say the opening scene, but one of the first interactions where you meet the group was when Mina came with the slap trips and she shared. You know, like, how many times are we in a previous situation and we come with a board course or something and we're like, nah, I'm not going to share this with you, get your own, you know what I mean? And like, they have so little, but they still, you know what? Here you go. Yeah. You know, that was so nice to see.
Yeah. Now, again, shout out to Lester, like, you know, crafting those little moments in the story because it's easy to kind of like flip past it. But if you really just look at the layers and you start picking these things up, you're going, okay, she's clearly, you can see she's a nurturing spirit. You can see that mother instinct, you know, even though they seem like they could be of a similar age even, you can see the motherly instincts in her, right? The way she addresses them, the way she kind of shouts at them sometimes, like you can see that dynamic of there's a nurturer in this woman.
Yes. Now just the ending. I don't understand. Like, explain for 5 marks. What happened? Like, I don't know if the guy got the black box. I don't know. I don't know if if Lapis is alive,
Yeah.
because the way she reacted,
Yeah.
what happened, you know?
Okay, spoiler alert. So maybe your listeners want to switch off at this stage if they want to watch the movie. No, so I think, and not to give everything away because Lester will be upset with me because his main thing was, listen, the audience, the way the audience want the story to play out, that's the way the story plays out. It's not so much, because in the book, there's a lot more descriptions and a lot more detail that kind of gives you a bit more context. And Lester specifically took that out of the screenplay and he told me, like, you can't shoot that. I'm like, what do you mean I can't shoot that? It's in the book. He's like, no, you're the director. Figure a way to do it without showing it. I was like, oh, okay, cool. No, so we took some liberties even in shooting the thing. So for instance, when they get the hard drive, right, they're supposed to go the hard drive. I don't know if you picked up. Yeah, Lapis did a double switch, right, on the hard drive, meaning that they actually took the older hard drive back, right? So that was something we worked in, which wasn't in the screenplay. And then the thing really is, I mean, however you want to play it out is, this woman is sitting in that moment and really contemplating that lost child, right? And the debate is whether that security guard that they saw, could that have been a child or not? Like, that's the question mark. Because I don't know if you remember, Charles talks about, you know, that kid that we saw yesterday. He must have an amazing mother and all of that. So there's a hint towards that might be a son, right? So that's kind of how that scenario sort of plays out. But once again, it's not set in stone. It's a bit like Lester saying, what we're trying to show here is essentially a little family unit, right? These three people, they're not related by blood, but they're family, right? And we're trying to really just show a little bit of their, call it humanity, or their ways as a person and as a human being, and then that and the friendship around that. That's the story. The plot twist and the plot points is there, and it makes for more interesting, coherent story. But the essence here is we're telling a story of friendship and what does a home mean, right? A home is not just a little building. It's the people that makes the home. And that's really the context of the story.
Not related by blood, but by situation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you have any plans to showcase this in other screenings, or maybe creating a festival of your own where you can showcase this film or stream?
Look,
maybe put it on a website or.
Yeah, I mean, we're still in conversations. We've started to enter it into a few festivals, so we'll see how it runs over the next couple of months and so. For sure, we would love to screen it more. We've reached out to one or two people to see if they may be open, because as I said, it's a nice conversation starter, right? Conversation maybe about things like homelessness, things like that. So from that perspective, we'll see what we can do there. And then it's always on to the next thing, right? We don't have the power to make people show the movie. We've learned that there's things you can control and things you can't control. What we can control is, get back in writing. We kind of 90% there. Me and him wrote a screenplay together that we hope to shoot when we get money for that, which I'm really excited about. Yeah.
Is it the Afrikaans one that I read about?
It's the Afrikaans one. It's a story. It's also sort of a coming of age story. It's set in Beaufort West, so it's going to be full on Afrikaans. It's a nice community story about this talented kid that has the opportunity to go to university through a sports scholarship, and then some dramatic stuff happened there. And once again, similar. There's themes of family and friendship and kind of like just togetherness and working together and all of those kind of things. So I'm really excited about that project, but it's dependent on whether or not we can get collaborators to do that with us. And then from there, continue to write. Lester's writing some of his stuff. I'm also writing 1 or 2 short stories that I have ideas for. And we continue
Let's keep pushing.
till they pay us to stop.
Now, are you still pushing 2/3 of a Man to see if you can get it on a distribution?
Yeah, I mean,
network or just
I would love to get it on some South African screens in whichever way. As I said, I still think it's a super relevant story. It's a story that I really would love for young kids to see. You know, it's I think there's some fun, let's say, Easter eggs that's unique to our communities. You know, which is always cool. It's like a little nod to the way we were raised and grew up, and some references and things like that. So from that perspective, I'm hoping that that we can get that on screen, and we'll continue to try and find ways to do that. But yeah, that's where we are at the moment.
Have you ever considered like just completely removing the gatekeeper aspect and just say, I'm putting it on YouTube. I'm making it for everyone. So everyone, I'm making this so that the more people can see it. Not only people who have access to a Amazon or a Showmax, or to remove that paywall and say,
yeah, definitely was one of the ideas. That the challenge as a marketer that I've realized is that somehow people don't value things that's completely free. They think it's not worth. Like, when last have you watched a movie on YouTube, right? And there's good movies on YouTube, by the way.
No, I actually not too long ago. Like,
but a lot of people go, if it's on YouTube, then it can't be any good. Now, that's just a perception thing. I don't really have an issue with that. So it's just the promoting and kind of getting it out there. Because even if it's available, it's still, you need to get the eyeballs to go and watch it and kind of going, let me give this a shot. And funnily enough, when people see something on a screen, they go, well, actually, there must be some value to it, so I'm going to take the 1.5 hour time to actually watch it. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it's important that the movie gets its shot where people actually take it serious to watch it.
How about this? Remember in the pandemic, there were a lot of people, for example, Mark Lottering, he had these live shows where he would, I'm not sure if it was completely live, but maybe taped, and then he would say, go to Ticket Pro or Ticket Web, Ticketmaster, whatever the case may be, buy a ticket, and then you'll get access to watch this movie at this time, to have sort of the same same cinema feeling. But at this time, everyone sits down and watches it and pays for it. Everything of things.
Yeah, no, 100%, and I think that potentially could be the next step forward.
Because all the money goes to you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, 100%, and it's not even just about that. For me, it's about having as many eyeballs to see it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, definitely that's still in the mix. That's a conversation, something that I'm definitely gonna potentially explore. So,
because I think after the pandemic, a lot of people are moving more independent. A lot of people taking the control into their own hands. They're not relying on gatekeepers or these big corporations that control everything. So there are avenues now to explore. I'm not saying what you should do. I'm just presenting options.
100%.
Just to just to get more eyeballs on it. Just to get your message across. Because I mean that can extend not only locally but anybody.
Wherever,
Lester's got fans out there in Japan, you know what I mean? Like in the UK.
Yeah.
So, I mean, continents, crossing borders. So it just extends that reach. And people say, hey, who's this old guy? You know, what other movies is he doing? And maybe call you up. I need a director for this thing or that thing. And it just opens up your
avenues.
Your whole, It's completely.
No, for sure, dude. 100%. 100%.
All right. So, currently, where can people find 2/3 of a Man? Is it only Amazon?
So it's only, and it's only global. But, if somebody reaches out to you, the same way I organize you a screener for the short film, I'm happy, to give people some access, So if people reach out to you and want to see the movie, we can organize. For now, just in a sort of a more contained environment, and then we'll see how we can.
Is that the same applies for the short film you did?
The short film, not for now, because we're first trying to just get it into a few. Yeah, it's fairly new, so we're trying to get it into some festivals first. But we'll probably also kind of go that route, and maybe we come back when we're ready to kind of promote that and have a conversation about that.
Just am I allowed to show some of the scene of the cameo?
For sure, you can put that that up.
Just
like,
to make sure.
I would love for people. I would
sure.
love for people to see that. Man. No, 100%.
Oh man, oh
No,
gosh.
definitely put that out. Put it out.
That's funny. But listen, I want to say thank you so much for coming today.
Yeah.
I really appreciate what you are doing out there in the streets, taking on the challenge of pursuing a passion, making a dream come true that literally you thought about and just said, you know what, I'm gonna learn how to do this. I'm not gonna wait for anyone else to come and do this for me, but I'm gonna do it myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, you know what, this can be done.
Yeah.
And that's a message for a lot of people out there, a lot of kids out there that look like us, but are still in that space of, nah, that's for those TV people.
Yeah.
For those special people, so to say, those people who are, this is their life, this is the life somebody else chose for them kind of thing. And so shout out to you for that, man. And also for giving people like me an opportunity to feature as well. And that also just sparked my acting career also. So shout out to you for that, man. And where can people find you on social media?
I'm not really very visible on socials.
Isn't
It's just as a marketer. I mean, I kind of explore socials, but I'm not that active. I'm quite you're getting the warts and all today, but I'm not really that much out there. But I mean, where they can get a lot of information on is on the 2/3 Productions Instagram, right? So we put all like news out there, or what are we busy with, some if there's any movement on the movies and stuff like that. So yeah, follow us on 2/3 Productions on Instagram.
So it's called 2/3 Production.
Yeah.
Is that the number 2?
Number
Okay.
2.
I'll find it and then I'll
Yeah,
put it
yeah.
at the bottom of the screen over
Okay.
here.
Yeah, I mean that's the best way, just to kind of keep updated with what we're doing.
Any message out there for anyone who might want to get in contact with you? People who's watching that might want to. Any words of inspiration maybe for those out there looking to do something similar?
Yeah. Yeah, listen, man, I think, and you've touched on it, is swing for the fences, dude. Like, if you've got an idea, it doesn't matter how wild, the wilder the better. And just kind of slowly just start walking towards the thing, right? I think often especially when it's something big, we get scared, we look at it and we're going, ooh, that's a monster thing, right? How am I even gonna navigate that? But I think that the thing is just to walk towards it, step by step, like slowly chip away at the thing. And a year from now, you look back and you'll be surprised on what you've achieved by just being like that. I think we get so paralyzed when we trying to do something that we almost can't move, right? We go, oh, I want to do this thing. Like, how many times have you started a new year? This year I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And I think, like, go now. Start typing the first word now, right? And then tomorrow go type 3 more words. And, a couple of months from now, you're going to have 6 pages. That's the secret ingredient. It's just start moving towards the thing. Don't make it such a big, it's probably a big thing, but if you're just going to think about it in its totality, it's just going to paralyze you. So just, put a foot in front of the next one and off you go. And then just to you, my man, once again, thanks for letting me come here and talk about the work and the movies and all of that. As I said, I appreciate what you're doing. Continue with your art. As I said, it was your song that pulled me in, and I was like, nah, we gotta get this guy on the movie and use the music. And so thanks for allowing us to do that, and continue the good work, man.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure. Cool. It's an honor. I have one question that I just came up now while you were speaking. I just want to make sure we have When it was premiere day, Ster-Kinekor, you're about to watch the movie, your movie that
Yeah.
you made for the first time. What was that like when you were sitting in the cinema and this movie that you made came on? Like, what was that like for you?
Funnily enough, it was the most nerve-wracking experience. I was sweating. You know why? Like, you more worried that something's gonna go wrong. I was like, is the projector gonna break while all these, like, it's weird, man. You're thinking,
Oh, the technical
yeah,
aspects,
you
right?
thinking like, why does it play a little bit slower now? Is there something wrong with the projection? Like, like you know, like,
Low shading.
you're so worried about all of that, and then you get
Wow.
settled in and you see people respond and people laughing at the jokes and the things like that, and then it's such a blur, man. It's so unreal. It's like a bit of an out-of-body experience. Like, you know you made this thing, but you also know you didn't make the thing. You know, that kind of, that artist thing where you kind
Yeah.
of go like, "Oh, did I make this thing?" So yeah, but you know, it's amazing. It's an experience that you can't really describe. But just, you know, you feel proud, not just for you, for the people involved. You made hopefully your family proud. You know, all of these things. I'm sure there's people that's dreamt of doing something like that and never did it. And now you've done it, so there's a marker in the sand that they go, for sure now anybody can do it, right? If this little kid from Beaufort can go make a movie,
Yeah.
why can't I, right? So I think that's what I really like take away from that, and like the warms and fuzzies around that particular thing. So yeah.
From small town to big city
Hey.
to bigger dreams. Thank you so much for coming and doing this. I
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
you. I'm inspired by our chat by what you said as well. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
No,
sir.
awesome. Thanks, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Shot.
What you doing out in these streets, Leroy? What you doing out in these streets? What you doing out? What you doing out? What you doing out in these streets? What you doing out in these streets, Leroy? We in these streets.